Okay, funny story. Today I went to the bathroom and I was gonna wash my hands and I was standing at the sink with my hands out like this. And I was like, what's wrong with this thing? It was broken and I kept moving my hands around, and then I noticed I actually had to turn the faucets on with my hands. That's how spoiled we have become as a society. We think, like I'm so used to going to bathrooms now where you just put your hands in the faucet and the water comes on. I forgot about the knobs to turn the sink on. So anyway, hello guys. So NBC has been at it with their shenanigans again, faking stuff. Didn't Tom Brokaw, who's that guy? Lion Brian Williams, that's right. He worked for NBC when he lied about getting shot down in a helicopter, and then when he got caught, he said he misremembered. No, he flipping lied, like straight up lied for years. It was going around telling everybody. And now they've been caught faking measles pictures. Lift the Veil did a really good analysis of it if you want to go check that out. I don't know if I'll get the link up by the time I upload this video, but if you type in like NBC fakes measles vaccines, it should come up. If not, let me know and I can get you the link. But anyway, yeah, they did. They faked, and what they did, they took a stock photo and they used Photoshop and they put measles on this baby. And then if you also look at the picture, the doctor that's holding the baby doesn't have any gloves on, and you're like, if the measles is contagious, it's so deadly, why is the doctor holding the baby without gloves or without a mask? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I just feel like people that believe the news now, like they're just, I don't know. Are you gone? Are you gone? And now it's getting me to this other thing, because I've been doing research on the polio scare that happened like in the 40s, 50s. And I'm starting to see a pattern with them faking epidemics. Now, again, I had to like reiterate to somebody in the comments that I'm not saying that, if they had a family member that was paralyzed, I'm not saying that they didn't get polio. I'm just saying I don't think it was to the degree that they're making it. Just like they're doing with the measles outbreak. It's like 15 people, a few hundred people get measles out of millions and millions and millions of people in the US, and they're trying to say that it's emergency, and they're trying to mandate vaccines just like they're doing with the polio thing. Right now in New York, they have a law in place where you get fined $2,000 a day if you don't get vaccinated. And my friend and I were talking, we're like, yeah, you can't sue the pharmaceutical industry, but here come the lawsuits for the city and for the state. Because even for the MMR vaccine, it's not recommended until 1. You're not even supposed to give it at, and now they're recommending it at 6 months, 5-6 months, something like that. So even according to their medical safe standards, like that's not safe. Not that vaccines are safe, but it's not safe because they're just mandating it. They're just giving. They used to not give the flu shot and other vaccines to pregnant women, but now it's okay. Even though all the vaccine inserts say that they've never tested on pregnant women, and even though there's evidence to support that vaccines can cause miscarriages and SIDS, but that's okay, as long as they're getting their agenda out, I guess it's all right. So, yeah, I mean, they just straight up photoshopped the picture. It was trying to pass it off like this baby got measles, and people are like flipping out, vaccinate your kids, you're not gonna get my kids sick. Those people are stupid, I'm sorry. Maybe, I don't know, but I maybe I should be a little bit more compassionate, but today I'm just just calling it out. I don't have patience. I don't have patience for people that are that selfish and that self-centered and that stupid, expecting other people to set their kids on fire to keep theirs warm, and not using their common sense. Because, I mean, at its basic form, or at its basic, like, at the basic theory of vaccination, you're supposed to get it to protect yourself. So why are people falling for, the whole story about the outbreaks coming out? And it's because people aren't vaccinating. But if they get vaccinated, they're supposed to be fine. So how come somebody else not getting vaccinated is not making your vaccines work? I saw the greatest meme where there's like a zombie and he's like, get vaccinated because mine's won't work if you don't get yours. It was the greatest meme, because I'm just like, yeah, those people are zombies. They are. How did now it's turning into this thing, and it's so easy going back with the polio scare, same thing, right? They had this, You know, there are some people that are paralyzed. Again, I feel like I have to keep reiterating this because I always get somebody in the comments that gets so mad, and they're saying that I'm fake. I'm saying that the whole thing was staged. I'm not saying that like the paralyzed victims weren't staged. Just again, I don't know. I guess I have to keep reiterating myself, and even if I do, there's some people that are still just gonna get offended because they're not hearing what I'm saying. So. But the whole thing with the polio, like I've come across all of these, like all this propaganda, all these cartoons, like Disney did some Disney did some polio cartoons for the March of Dimes. Because if you guys don't know, the March of Dimes, it was like the campaigns that they had to get people to raise money and raise awareness for polio, for paralytic polio. And you know, they had like I think it was like Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong, Lucille Ball, the Captain Kangaroo. Who are all these other people I found? Oh, Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney. And then, like I said, Disney cartoons with Mickey, Donald, and Goofy. Like all of these people were getting together, and they're just like, oh, you know, it's so bad. Same thing like with the measles. I swear, it's scary. It's like history is repeating itself. But at that time, you know, there were doctors, like I said, that were talking about that they didn't believe it was to the degree, and they thought that polio wasn't caused by a virus, it was caused by something else, and those people were just ignored and erased out of history. And at that time, the public didn't have access to medical records and stuff, and doctors couldn't put up their own opinions and videos and blogs and on YouTube and speak out. And just like they're trying to censor the anti-vaxxers, quote unquote, for speaking out and having a different opinion or a different perspective, they did that back then, but they didn't have a voice because, you know, like I said, we didn't have the internet. So I didn't even know about these people. I didn't know about Elizabeth Kinney. I didn't know about other doctors and other people that were like, you know, that were speaking out. There were 2 doctors that warned Jonas Salk that using formaldehyde in his vaccine wasn't going to inactivate the polio virus. And he did it anyway, because there are people that tried. There were other people that publicly tried to do a polio vaccine. They was like, yeah, it doesn't work. Like, you know, it suppresses the immune system for a minute, and then it becomes virulent, and then it like gives people polio. And that's what happened with the cholera incident. 40,000 people got polio from the vaccine. Not all of them were paralyzed, but they got, I guess, polio from the vaccine. And then, you know, they do all kinds of just like very sneaky things, like they change the criteria, like, you know, for diagnosis, because there's not like a definitive test that you can get for polio. It was just kind of based on diagnostic criteria, right? So they would do that, and then they changed the names, and they were like, oh, they didn't have polio, they have Guillain-Barré. Well, they're the same symptoms. You know, just kind of like they do with the DSM, where they just go in a room and they vote, and it's very subjective. There's no objective test you can get. They kind of do that with these diseases too, because people that exhibit symptoms from polio without being paralyzed, it's basically the flu. It's a stomach flu. It's a stomach virus. It attacks your virus. It attacks your stomach. That's why it's found in feces and shit like that, because it's like it's in your intestines. It's an intestinal stomach disease, your gut, right? So yeah, it's fascinating to kind of watch this go down, especially when you start looking back at history and see how you know, people were oh, my friend just texted me, Cobra Kai. I don't work for them, but I love Cobra Kai. I don't know if I'll have time to binge watch it this weekend. I'll probably have to do it next weekend because I got some stuff coming up. I've got a friend coming into town. That would suck if I just if I'm like, hey, I haven't seen you in like, you know, 15 years, but I'm gonna watch Cobra Kai instead, and so I can't do that. So I'm probably gonna hit that up next weekend. But anyway, yeah, it's fascinating watching history go down. And then another friend and I, we were talking, and we're just like, you know, this is like the Leicester incident in New York. What's going on with the Leicester incident in England? What happened when Jenner created the smallpox vaccine? He actually made it from cows, and he would use cow pus, and they didn't have syringes. But what they would do, they would like make a hole, like make a, what do you call this, like a laceration in your skin, and then push it into your skin, right? And lots of people start getting cowpox or smallpox from the Jenner vaccine. And there were so many doctors and people that were like speaking out and stuff, but they were just, they just weren't letting them, they were censoring them basically. And then back then it was like the newspaper, right? Because we didn't have the internet. So if it was a publishing press and, only a few people controlled the newspaper and what got out, people that, they could control who spoke out against what and who, what they wanted to say. They can control the narrative that way as well. So what happened was a lot of people in this town called Leicester, it was an industrial town, got together, like, on the train, on the bus, on the whatever, the horse, I don't know, whatever they had, and they'd be talking about, but like, hey, the king, the queen, whatever, they mandated this vaccine, and my son got sick, my daughter got sick, oh yeah, I got sick, my grandma got sick. So people started talking to each other. This is without the internet, and they started refusing the vaccine. And they started jailing people just like they're doing in New York. I mean, because if you don't get vaccinated, you get a fine, $2,000 every day, and you can be jailed, okay? And they started doing the same thing. And there was like an outroar and an upcry, and they banded together, and they had like a hearing or whatever, and then they were, what they decided to do, they still rejected the vaccine, but what they did was they had, new information was coming in about sanitation, because at that time they didn't really understand plumbing and how important it was for cities and incineration and all this other stuff. So then they're just like, we're just going to clean up, we're going to implement sanitation, blah, 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 and they did it, and they totally eradicated smallpox. You don't hear about that. You don't hear about that, right? You don't hear about that. How come tribes haven't been wiped out from smallpox? I just want to know, right? You hear this, you see the pictures, there are not that many pictures of people with smallpox either. I've seen a few pictures, I've seen artistic renderings, and then I've seen a couple of photos. But, it's kind of like the same thing. Why aren't there like tons and tons and tons of people that have had smallpox? And, I know one thing is somebody brought up was because we were hunter-gatherers and we started farming and we started having, close proximity with animals. That was one way that people got it, but it still wasn't really that common. And, like I've said in previous nature, ecology, when you're in the wild, something dies, you have bugs and parasites that live in the wild that would pick at it and pick at the meat, and then, the rest, the bones, you have vultures, you have animals, and then that would not, something that died, and then it would go back into the earth. Well, when you're a city, you have trash, you have rotting meat, you have rotting, which is basically rotting corpses, right? You have this stuff, the food that you eat that attracts a lot of bacteria, and if that's not going back into the circle of life, the cycle, then you're gonna fester disease, right? Because like you say you have an apple and you throw it into the concrete, but it's not going to go back into the earth. And if it's in a city, there are not a lot of maybe wild animals and stuff that's going to like eat it, rot it. So it's going to rot. It's going to bring bacteria. It's going to fester disease. Now, if you have like excrement from horses and you have food and people are pissing and crapping in the streets because there's no plumbing, you're going to fester disease. Rats are going to come, right? Rats eat that stuff, right? In nature, rodents would eat some of it, right? Whatever the corpse is dying, they come and nibble away at it. But if you're in a city and rats are in the city, that's what they're gonna do. Then you're in a city with all this trash and all these rotting corpses and meat and food. You're gonna fucking draw rodents and pests, and then they're gonna bring what? Bacteria with them. And if you're in a small, closed environment where you're living together and you're not washing the stuff away with sewage and you're not burning it with incineration, you're gonna bring disease, hence the plague. So to me, it's really simple. I don't know. Did I just go on a tangent? Because did I just fucking, I don't know. It makes sense to me. But I think that I just rewatched this video with the amazing Suzanne Humphrey. She's amazing. And I hadn't seen this in a while, and I rewatched it, and she was basically saying that like that people have been brainwashed so long to have medical intervention, and we're so disconnected from nature. We're not used to dealing with disease and stuff without allopathic intervention. So when we hear about people using natural cures and stuff, we don't what am I trying to say? We don't believe it. I believe it, but I mean, a lot of people don't believe it because there's, you know, we just so been brainwashed to like worship allopathic medicine and doctors like they're gods that we're just like, oh, take care of me, oh, do something, I'm sick, save me. We don't take the responsibility for ourselves. We don't understand the ecosystem and the ecology and how it works because we're so disconnected. To me, I think that definitely is like it's a what's the word? It's a conspiracy. Okay, the C word, the conspiracy, to get us disconnected from nature, to make us independent. I mean, to make us dependent on the system, right? Whether it's pills and vaccines. People you know, you get sick, you get cancer, you want somebody to save you, and you're just like, there's so many people. I had a cousin, okay, I know I'm going to tangent, but this is all connected, I swear. Or I should say a family member. Oh, you know, fuck, I said it already. Anyway, you wanna know who she is. But she was really overweight. I have a lot of people in my family that are unhealthy and overweight, but she's extremely overweight, and she was having back issues, and they told her to either lose weight or she can get a surgery to help her back. But if she got the surgery, then it was a good chance that she would end up paralyzed. So she chose the surgery, but now she's paralyzed. And it's like, I've known people that are just like, oh, they have diabetes, but they can reverse diabetes by changing their diet, or they can keep eating the way they do, but then they'll get their feet cut off, you know? And I don't know, it's like, it's just astounding to me. I'm just not that type of person that, you know, wants to live that way. I want to have a good quality of life for as long as I can. So for me to know that people, you know, depend on this so much, even like, you know, you look at Monsanto, the way that they're selling their seeds, they sell their seeds and their chemicals that they use, it messes up the soil. So even if you want to get your own seeds and plant them, the soil is now so messed up that you can't plant your own seeds in the soil. So you have to go to them to get their seeds that are resistant to the chemicals that they gave you in the soil. It's like they're creating this whole fake, like, you know, natural system, I can't think of the word, but it's basically like they're recreating like a fake nature for us to be dependent on. So I see the same thing going on with agriculture that I do with vaccines and medicine, the medical industry, where they don't want us to be dependent and have responsibility for our own health. They don't want us to grow our own food. You know, they're spraying shit in the sky. Yes, they're chemtrails. If you're fucking offended, please unsubscribe. They're spraying shit in the sky, so it's hard for you to grow your food. And then, you know, I mean, you're fucked, you know, you're just gonna keep going back to them like a slave. It's a form of slavery. So they're manufacturing these measles vaccines, these measles outbreaks, making them more dangerous or bigger and scarier than they actually are, to get people scared so they can get vaccines. And once they get vaccines, they'll not get sick. And then once they get sick, they'll need medication. Once they get medication, they'll get side effects of that medication. And once they get side effects of medication, they give you more medication. And then more medication. And they're going to get sicker and sicker because you can't heal health with medicine, with their medicine. So, I mean, I'm just saying. All right. Anyway, that's my rant. Check out Lifting the Veil. This went way too long, okay? But I hope I was able to make sense of some of the stuff I said. That's my rant. But all right, love you guys. Peace, truth, and love. Bye-bye. Mwah.